Your Ford's transmission is one of the most expensive components in the entire vehicle, and most owners are destroying it one bad habit at a time without even realizing it. I'm talking about everyday behaviors that seem completely harmless, things you probably do every single time you drive, that are silently grinding away at your gears, burning through your transmission fluid, and setting you up for a repair bill that can hit $4,000, $5,000, even $6,000. I've been working on Fords for over 15 years. I've rebuilt transmissions, I've diagnosed failures, and I've had the same conversations with owners over and over again. They always say the same thing: I had no idea I was doing anything wrong. That's exactly the problem. Ford doesn't warn you about these habits. The dealership doesn't bring them up at delivery. And by the time the transmission starts slipping or the fluid smells burnt, the damage is already done. Today we're covering 7 transmission habits that Ford owners need to stop immediately. Habit number 4 is something almost every single driver does at some point, and it causes more gear damage than almost anything else on this list. Habit number 1 is so common that I see the consequences in the shop at least twice a week. Pay attention, because this video could save you thousands of dollars. Let's start with one that sounds almost too obvious, but you'd be shocked how many people still do it. Habit number 7, shifting into park before the vehicle has fully stopped. This one drives me absolutely crazy because I see the damage it causes constantly. You are pulling into your driveway, you are slowing down, and before the vehicle has completely come to a stop, you shove the shifter into park. Feels fine, right? No big deal. The truck stops, you get out, you go about your day. But here is what is actually happening inside that transmission every single time you do that. When you shift into park on a moving vehicle, a metal locking powel drops into a notched ring connected to your output shaft. That powel is designed to hold a stationary vehicle in place, not to arrest forward or backward motion. When you shift while still rolling, even at just 2 or 3 miles per hour, that powel engages while the ring is still spinning. The impact loads the powel far beyond its design tolerances. Over time, the powel gets chipped, the notches on the ring get rounded off, and eventually the parking mechanism fails entirely. You will notice it first as a clunk when you shift into park, then difficulty getting the vehicle out of park, and eventually you will have a situation where the truck will not stay in park at all on a slope. Replacing a transmission park powel and the associated components is not a cheap job. Depending on the model, you are looking at $400 to $800 just for that repair. And that is assuming nothing else got damaged in the process. On Ford's 10-speed automatic, which is found in the F-150 and many other models, the internal architecture is tighter and more complex, making park powel damage even more consequential and expensive to fix. The fix here is dead simple. Come to a complete stop before shifting into park. Put your foot on the brake, wait until the vehicle is fully stationary, then shift. It takes maybe an extra 2 seconds, and it can add years to your transmission's lifespan. Habit number 6, using the brake to hold position on a hill instead of park or neutral. You're sitting at a red light on an incline. You're in drive, and you are holding the truck in place with your foot on the brake. It seems like the most natural thing in the world, but this habit is quietly killing your transmission in a way that does not show up immediately. It shows up several years down the road as a major failure. When you are sitting in drive on a slope with the brake applied, the engine sends torque through the torque converter into the transmission while the brakes oppose that force. The torque converter slips constantly. The transmission fluid inside that converter churns under load, generating heat. Heat is the single biggest enemy of automatic transmission fluid and the clutch packs it is supposed to protect. Ford's 6-speed select shift transmissions and the newer 10-speed automatics both use wet clutch packs that are extremely sensitive to sustained heat. Transmission fluid is rated to operate safely at temperatures up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. For every 20 degrees above that, fluid life is cut in half. A torque converter slipping under load on a hill can push fluid temperatures well above 250 degrees in a matter of minutes, especially in stop-and-go traffic on a hot day. I have inspected transmission fluid on trucks that came in for other service, and I can tell you that fluid that should be clean and red often looks like dark brown motor oil on vehicles driven primarily in hilly areas where the owner uses the brake to hold position constantly. That burnt fluid is not protecting anything. It accelerates clutch pack wear every mile. The solution is simple. Use your parking brake when sitting on an incline for more than a few seconds. Or better yet, shift into neutral at long lights on hills. Neutral disengages the transmission from the drivetrain and eliminates that torque converter slip entirely. Your fluid stays cooler, your clutch packs stay cleaner, and your transmission lives longer. It is one of the simplest habit changes on this list and one of the most impactful. Habit number 5, neglecting transmission fluid changes because the dipstick says it looks fine. This one is more of an omission than an action, but the consequences are just as serious. Ford's recommended transmission fluid change interval has varied over the years, and here is where a lot of confusion comes from. For a long time, Ford marketed certain transmissions as having lifetime fluid, meaning the factory fill was supposed to last the life of the vehicle. But mechanics who work on these trucks define lifetime differently than Ford does. Ford means the life of the powertrain warranty. Mechanics mean the physical life of the vehicle. Those are two very different things. Transmission fluid degrades through a process called oxidation. As the fluid cycles through heat and cooling over thousands of miles, the friction modifiers that protect clutch surfaces break down. The fluid becomes acidic. It loses its viscosity stability. What started as a clean, slippery protective layer turns into contaminated sludge that actually accelerates the wear it was designed to prevent. On Ford's 6R80 six-speed transmission, which is used in millions of F-150s, Mustangs, and Explorers, the fluid should be changed every 30,000 to 60,000 miles under normal driving conditions and every 30,000 miles or less if you tow regularly. For the 10R80 10-speed, the intervals are similar. Ignore this, and you are not just shortening the fluid's life. You are shortening the life of every clutch pack, every solenoid, and every bearing inside that transmission. The test I use in the shop is simple. Pull the transmission dipstick if your model has one. Wipe it on a white paper towel. Healthy fluid is a clear, bright red. Fluid that has been neglected is dark brown, opaque, and often has a burnt smell. If yours looks dark and smells off, schedule a transmission service immediately. Catching contaminated fluid before it causes internal damage is a $150 service. Waiting until the damage is done is a $4,000 rebuild. Habit number 4, rocking the vehicle back and forth when stuck in mud or snow. Here it is. This is the habit I see causing more damage than almost anything else on the list. You are stuck, the wheels are spinning, so you go from drive to reverse to drive to reverse, rocking the truck back and forth to get traction. I completely understand the instinct. It works sometimes, but the mechanical cost of this technique is staggering. Every time you shift from drive to reverse while the wheels are still moving, even slightly, you force the transmission to change the direction of power delivery while internal components are still in motion. The clutch packs engage and release under sharp shock loads they were never engineered to handle. The drive shaft and differential components get hit with reversal forces that can create stress fractures in gear teeth over time. But the worst damage happens to the clutch packs themselves. Each time you bang from drive to reverse quickly, A set of friction plates slams together under load. The friction material on those plates shears micro layers off with every violent shift. Do this a handful of times and you might not notice anything immediately. Do it a dozen times across a few stuck situations and you will start noticing hesitation when shifting, a slight shudder under acceleration, and eventually slipping under load. By then, the friction material is already worn past the point of recovery with a fluid change alone. The right approach when you are stuck is to use the lowest appropriate gear, apply smooth, steady throttle, and let the traction control work. If you do need to rock the vehicle, shift between drive and reverse slowly. Wait until the vehicle has come to a complete stop in each direction before shifting to the other, and keep the throttle application gentle. The goal is momentum, not wheel spin. If it is not working, after several careful attempts, stop and call for a tow. A tow bill is a fraction of a transmission rebuild. Habit number 3, using your left foot on the brake while driving. Left foot braking started as a motorsports technique for specific performance applications, but in a daily driver with an automatic Ford transmission, it is a transmission-killing habit that creates a problem called brake drag. Here is exactly what happens. When you ride the brake pedal even slightly with your left foot while your right foot is on the gas, the brakes are partially applied. Most drivers who do this do not realize they are doing it. They think they are just resting their foot near the pedal, but even light contact creates a small amount of braking force. The engine is simultaneously pushing power through the transmission while the brakes oppose that power. The torque converter slips. The transmission fluid heats up. The clutch packs wear faster. There is a secondary problem specific to modern Ford transmissions with electronic shift control. The transmission computer monitors wheel speed, throttle position, and brake pedal status to determine shift points. When the brake is lightly applied, the computer receives conflicting signals. It sees throttle input telling it to accelerate, but brake input suggesting deceleration. The adaptive shift logic gets confused and starts making shift decisions that do not match the actual driving conditions. Over thousands of miles, this erodes the transmission-learned shift behavior and can cause erratic shifting patterns that do not resolve without a transmission control module reset. Beyond the transmission itself, left foot braking creates uneven brake wear, elevated rotor temperatures, and accelerated pad degradation. It is a habit that damages multiple systems simultaneously. If you have been doing this for years, consider having your transmission fluid inspected for heat damage and your brake pads checked for premature wear. Keep your left foot on the dead pedal to the left of the brake. Let your right foot handle both the accelerator and the brake. That is how the system was designed to be used. Habit number 2, towing without engaging tow haul mode. This is one I see constantly, and it is one of the most preventable causes of early transmission failure in Ford trucks. The tow haul mode button is right there on the shifter or the center console. It takes one press to engage, but a huge percentage of Ford owners either don't know what it does, don't think it matters, or simply forget to use it. The consequences are severe. When you are towing a heavy trailer in normal drive mode, the transmission shifts exactly like it would if the truck were empty. It upshifts early to keep revolutions per minute low in the interest of fuel economy. It applies minimal engine braking when you lift off the throttle. The transmission software does not account for the additional weight you are hauling. This creates two major problems simultaneously. The first problem is heat. When the transmission upshifts too early under load, the engine does not have enough power at those low revolutions per minute to maintain speed. It lugs. You press the accelerator harder. The transmission partially downshifts, creating clutch slip as it hunts for the right gear. Clutch slip under load generates extreme heat. Transmission fluid temperatures that should stay around 180 degrees while towing will spike past 250 degrees when the transmission is hunting gears in normal mode with a heavy load behind you. Extended towing sessions in the wrong mode can push temperatures past 300 degrees, which is where catastrophic fluid breakdown and friction material failure begin. The second problem is wear. Every gear hunt, Every partial downshift, every moment of clutch slip is depositing friction material into your transmission fluid. That contamination then circulates through the valve body, through the solenoids, and into every hydraulic passage in the transmission. I have pulled transmission pans on trucks that towed extensively in normal mode, and the debris in the bottom would make your stomach turn. Tow haul mode changes everything. It holds lower gears longer. It shifts more aggressively and at higher revolutions per minute under throttle. It applies engine braking on deceleration so the brakes do not have to work as hard. It tells the transmission computer that it is working hard and should prioritize protection over economy. Ford engineered this mode specifically because the engineers knew exactly what normal mode does to a transmission under load. The rule is simple. If you are towing anything over 3,000 pounds, tow haul mode goes on before you move. No exceptions. Habit number 1, ignoring the symptoms of a transmission problem until it becomes a failure. This is the single most destructive habit on this entire list, and it is not even a driving habit. It is a maintenance mindset, and it costs Ford owners more money than everything else combined. Transmissions do not usually fail without warning. They communicate. They send signals that something is wrong, sometimes months before a catastrophic failure. But because those early signals are easy to explain away or ignore, most owners do exactly that. By the time the transmission actually fails, what could have been a $200 fluid service or a $400 solenoid replacement has become a $4,500 rebuild. Here are the signals your Ford transmission sends before it fails and what they actually mean. A shudder or vibration during light acceleration, particularly at highway speeds between 40 and 50 miles per hour, is often the first sign of torque converter clutch failure or early clutch pack wear. The Ford 6R80 transmission is particularly known for this symptom. Caught early, it often responds to a fluid change with the correct Mercon LV specification fluid. Left alone, it leads to complete torque converter failure. Delayed engagement when shifting from park to drive or from reverse to drive means the transmission is taking longer than it should to build hydraulic pressure. This indicates either low fluid, a worn hydraulic pump, or a sticking valve body. It is also a common symptom of early solenoid wear. Replacing a solenoid costs $150 to $300. Replacing a valve body costs $600 to $1,200. Waiting until the transmission will not engage at all costs $4,000 or more. Slipping between gears where the engine revs but the truck does not accelerate proportionally means clutch packs are worn past the point of full engagement. This symptom almost always progresses quickly. Once clutch packs are slipping under normal load, they deteriorate exponentially because slipping generates heat, and heat destroys friction material faster, which causes more slipping. Any of these symptoms mean you stop driving aggressively, stop towing anything heavy, and get the truck to a shop for a transmission inspection immediately. A good transmission technician can often identify whether you need a fluid service, a minor component replacement, or something more serious before it escalates. The window between the first symptom and full failure is often short, and the cost difference between catching it early and catching it late is enormous. Your Ford transmission is engineered to last the life of the truck. The 6R80 and 10R80 are well-built units that can go 200,000 miles or more with proper treatment, but they cannot overcome bad habits. Every time you shift into park while rolling, every time you tow in normal mode, every time you ignore a shudder or a delayed engagement, you are taking years off that transmission's life and moving that massive repair bill closer to your driveway. Go through this list and be honest with yourself about how many of these habits you have been practicing. Make the changes now before you are sitting in a service bay getting told you need a complete rebuild. Change your fluid on schedule, use tow haul mode every single time you tow, come to a complete stop before shifting, and pay attention to what your truck is telling you. These are not difficult changes. They are just habits, and habits can be replaced. If you found this video valuable, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you do not miss our next video. drop a comment below telling me which of these habits you have been guilty of. Share this video with every Ford owner you know, because most of them are making at least 2 or 3 of these mistakes right now without realizing it. I will see you in the next one.